What's up everybody, Jay Lippman here. Welcome back to yet another video. If you're new here and you're into things like video editing, camera gear, and life as a full-time creator, make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit that bell so you can get notified whenever I upload a new video. This week we are talking about LUTs. I'm gonna show you how to install and work with LUTs in Davinci Resolve. But before we actually jump into Davinci and I show you how to do all this, let me explain what a LUT is. LUT, L-U-T, stands for lookup table, and without going into a lot of the specifics and the way that it works, it's basically an overly technical and more complicated Instagram filter for your video footage. You can also use them in Photoshop, but that's a totally different video. If you're new to creating videos and you're not really sure how to manually color grade your footage, or if you do know how to color grade your footage, but you're in a time crunch and you need a specific look in your video, LUTs can be a huge lifesaver. Personally, I usually choose to manually color grade all my footage, especially since I jumped over to Davinci Resolve from Premiere Pro. Prior to that though, especially when I was daily vlogging and I was just constantly on a time crunch, I used LUTs all the time. Now there are two different types of LUTs that we are going to discuss in this video. The first most people refer to as a utility LUT. The second is a creative LUT. Utility LUTs are usually used in log footage to make it look more like Rec 709 or the normal footage that you would get out of a DSLR. Creative LUTs are what most people think of when they think of LUTs. It's the actual, color grading and making your footage look the way that you want it to look. This is gonna make a lot more sense when we actually jump into the tutorial, so let's just go ahead and do that. Okay, so here we are in Davinci Resolve. We're in the color tab, and as you can see, I have 3 clips that are lined up and ready to go. The first is a clip of log footage that was sent to me by Ryan Photography. Ryan Photography has an amazing channel with loads of information that'll help you step up your photography and filmmaking game. Make sure that you check him out. I'll link his channel in the description below. Ryan, thank you so much for sending me this footage. It's bringing so much value to this video, you don't even know. The next clip that I have is just a piece of regular Rec 709 footage of a girl sitting on the beach. I just got this from Pexels, which is one of my favorite stock footage sites. And this third clip is a clip of me sitting in my desk. And this wasn't shot in log, but it was shot in a very flat profile, which means I went into the neutral picture profile in my camera and I brought the saturation and the contrast and the sharpness all the way down in order for me to have more room to work with it in post. Now, Davinci Resolve comes with a bunch of LUTs built into it. A lot of them are utility LUTs, some of them are creative LUTs, but let's say you don't like any of them and you actually want to import some of your own LUTs. Maybe you purchased Peter McKinnon's LUTs or Matty Apoya's or maybe even mine, and you want to import them into Davinci Resolve in order to use them on your footage. I'm going to show you how to do that right now. All right, so importing a LUT is super easy. We're just going to go over to File, Project Settings. I'm going to go over to Color Management, go down to Lookup Tables. We're going to click Open LUT Folder. And this folder that opened up in my computer is the folder that contains all of the LUTs that are in Davinci Resolve. Now, most of the LUTs in here I added, especially the ones that are in the folders, but there are some good creative LUTs and some good utility LUTs, like the Sony S-Log2 to Rec 709 or Canon Log to Rec 709, Canon Log to Cineon. You get the idea. Those are all utility LUTs. And what we want to do is add a new LUT to this folder. So all we're going to do is go to where we know we have a LUT, which I believe is over in here. We have this test.cube, which is a quick little LUT that I threw together in Photoshop. Yeah, you can create LUTs in Photoshop. That's a totally different video. Maybe I'll do that. Let me know in the comments below if you want to know how to create LUTs in Photoshop. I'm gonna go ahead and copy that and go back to our main LUTs folder that Davinci opened for us. We're gonna put this in my folder, 2019. Control V to paste. Get out of there, and we're gonna click Update Lists. Let's talk about the LUTs workflow real quick. If your camera doesn't shoot log, then the LUTs workflow is fairly simple. You color correct your footage, you add the LUT and then you adjust. I'm gonna show you how to do that in just a minute. If you are working with log footage or raw footage, then you're gonna want to apply a utility LUT before you color correct. Let's jump back into Davinci and I'll show you what I mean. We're gonna start with this piece of log footage sent to me from Ryan Photography. The first thing that we're going to want to do is add a utility LUT. And I know that somewhere in my folder I have an slog2 to rec 709 LUT. So we're gonna go ahead and just type in slog, Sony slog2 to rec 709. I'm just gonna hover over here and that's gonna be way overexposed. Both of these are, that's slog3, but we're gonna go ahead and drag that utility LUT onto my node. We're gonna hit Alt-S to create a new node. We're gonna do some quick color correction, and just in the interest of time, I'm gonna just auto this out. We're still gonna bring highlights way down. And once you have your footage looking the way that you want it after color correction, you're gonna go ahead and hit Alt-S for yet another node, and we're gonna go ahead and apply a creative LUT. So we're gonna go into my folder, gonna hit 2019. Let's get rid of my search. I'm just gonna scroll through these LUTs to see if there's any that really look good. Cinema looks pretty good. Not so much Emerald Shadows. Film, that looks good. Ooh, I like this one. We're gonna go ahead and go with Trifecta. So we're gonna grab that LUT again by just clicking on it with your mouse, and we're gonna drag it over to the node. And there's not really much I would do to this except for maybe bring up the highlights. So we're going to add yet another node, and we're just going to bring the highlights up a little bit more. And that looks good. So with log footage, we add a utility LUT, we color correct, we add a creative LUT, and then we adjust. All right, let's take a look at my next clip, which is just a Rec 709 clip, and we're gonna go through the process again. This one doesn't need a utility LUT, so we're just going to color correct, add a LUT, and adjust as necessary. So we're looking at this clip of the girl in the sand. We're gonna, just for the sake of time, we're gonna auto correct this, hit auto. And not much was done there. This actually is fairly well exposed and the colors seem to be about right. The clouds look white. Everything seems pretty good. So now we just need to add a new node. And for this image, we're gonna use another one of my LUTs called Starting Point. So we're gonna grab that, drag it onto the node, hit Alt-S to add a new node. And from here, we're gonna correct a little bit. So we're actually gonna bring up the gain. Not quite to 100%, but almost. And we're gonna bring that lift down just a couple notches, and that looks pretty good. I'm looking finally at the clip of me sitting at my desk. I'm gonna go ahead and do some quick color correction. Then we're gonna go ahead and search for a LUT that's gonna look good here. Go ahead and start with home, even though that's gonna require quite a bit of adjustment. So let's go ahead and do that. We're gonna first bring those highlights down because my skin tones are way too bright. Let's bring that down to the 896 line. Add another node, add a qualifier to tweak those skin tones a little bit. And then one more node, we're gonna bring those highlights down again. Go back to our skin tones. And the last thing that I'm gonna do is bring down that lift just a little bit to add a little bit more contrast. and we're done. Now, if you want to experiment with using LUTs for yourself, there are tons of free LUTs out there. There's also paid LUTs, including my brand new, just released today, 2019 Cinematic LUTs pack, which is a set of 10 cinematic LUTs, including the ones that I used in this tutorial. The link to that LUTs pack is in the description below, along with a coupon code that'll give you 20% off for the very first week that these LUTs are out. And if you do decide to go ahead and purchase those LUTs and download them and use them in your own footage, make sure you tag me on Twitter or shoot me a comment in this video and let me know what you thought about the LUTs. I'm really proud of them. I think they came out way better than the 2018 ones did, and I'm excited to hear what you guys think. So like this video if you enjoyed it, share it if you think your friends will enjoy it, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell if you haven't done so already. I'll be back Monday with a brand new video, but until then, thanks for hanging out, and I will talk to you later.